Hello there, you awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me today for Stay Free with Russell Brand, only on Rumble. Of course, this initial period, we are on YouTube, but after the first 15 minutes or so, we exclusively switched to add the home of free speech, our mothership, Rumble, not so that we can propagate hate speech. We've got no interest in that, so that we can propagate free speech. And today I am privileged to be speaking freely with a world-renowned adventurer, a great man, a survivor, a man who has taught himself and others how to overcome challenges, who knows about leadership, who knows about the military, who knows about extreme situations, who knows how to master the body and conquer the self. And I'm going to be introducing him in just a moment. You know who he is. I know I'm trying to build it up because we've already posted on social media who it is. It's not like, ooh, who's it going to be? Also, later in the show, in Here's the News, we're going to be looking at the digital dollar. About, oh, you like cryptocurrencies now, do you? Now that you can control them. I thought Bitcoin was evil. Now that we can control it, digital currencies are a good thing. We're going to be investigating that and just how much power that grants the establishment, the ability to shut down bank accounts, to control economies. It's extraordinary how fast this is moving. Over 50% of the countries of the world are trialing and preparing for CBDC. So I have to make sure I get that acronym right. Now, it is my privilege to be able to introduce a man you will know from shows like Running Wild, Man vs. Wild. His latest show is on National Geographic, and he's had me as a guest, so he's been pushed to the very limit. It's Bear Grylls. Hello, Bear. Welcome.
Hey, Russell. Yeah, pushed to the very limit. That was oh, dear. Yeah, it was a privilege. Listen, I tell you, out of all the episodes and journeys I've done over the years, that one will stay with me to my dying day, and I loved it, and it's been a lovely friendship since. So nice to be with you.
Thank you, Bear. Thanks for joining us. Even when you're on a Zoom call, you look like you're in an outrageously rugged situation. You must be hanging off the edge of a cliff or dangling from a helicopter. Thank you for joining us in an appropriately rugged environment. Like over the years, with some of my favorite guests, I've really enjoyed watching the Obama episode. I loved some of the early shows you did with British stars like Jonathan Ross. One of my favorites was Alex Harland, the free climber, and I know that was a big one for you. How do you deal with it when you have to survive with people that, let's put it like when I was asked to come on your show, I thought, like, this is how I categorized it. Like, some people did really, really well, and like, oh my God, that person could actually survive in the wild. Like, and then there are some people that you have to coss it a little bit, and cotton wool, and kid glove, and mollycoddle. Where do I fall on that scale, Bear, of like, you know, this is a person I can go into battle with, and this is a person I'm going to have to carry on my back in a knapsack?
You fall into both those categories. I would go into battle with you any day, but there might be a few moments where I might have to carry you in the knapsack, as you call it. I would say, I think for me, the really fun part of Running Wild is that 99% of the time, the people I take away are wilderness rookies, so to speak. You know, they're totally out of their comfort zone. Even the sort of, you know, alpha male adventure stars, even the guy, you know, like Zac Efron or Channing Tatum, somebody who's physical and, you know, fit and strong and loves that sort of thing. Often, though, they've never done stuff off the beaten path. They've, you know, even Zac, I remember him saying to me, I love hiking, love, you know, being out there doing this stuff, but we never really go left or go right from the trail. And I think Running Wild thrives on going left or right off the trail. So I would say 99% of the time, the people I take are rookies. I think, though, the kind of fun for me is taking absolute real rookies, you know, and therefore I know you were sort of, you know, a little apprehensive before doing it, saying, I've never done anything like this. This is really out of my comfort zone. But in a way, that's sort of, I love that because it's sort of honest, it's fun, you know where you're starting from. There's a sort of vulnerability that always then excels on the show, because I think if somebody arrives knowing too much or kind of thinking they're, you know, wanting to prove themselves physically too much, in a way it takes a while to break through that. Where if you take somebody like you who just kind of arrives saying, Bear, I trust you, I'm all in, here we go. It's kind of like my heart sings at that, because it's like, here we go, this is going to be so fun. And sure enough, by the end, look at you, you know, you were smashing it. Your eyes were even brighter than ever and big smile on your face. And you know, all of the crew at the end of R1 with you said, what a lovely, lovely, honest, strong, kind, family-centered, determined, vulnerable as well. You were so honest about so much your journey. What a cool guy. So you should be really proud of how you did, and we all loved it.
Thank you so much, Bear. I loved the experience myself. What I can say is it's 100% authentic, that you are 100% authentic, that you actually can do all those things, that it was exposed to me that I undeniably have challenges doing. Like, I did things for the first time on that trip with you, man. Like the raptoring and the climbing. There were moments in the show where I was actually genuinely terrified. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'll be available for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to start asking Bear about how we're going to survive the inevitable and eventual apocalypse. However you approach that idea politically, what's important to me about Bear and Bear's work, there are many things, but one thing I really identify with, or find appealing about Bear's work, is the ability to be independent in this world, the ability to survive, the ability to look after yourself, the ability to be at home in nature, the environments that we evolved to live in that now seem so detached from us. In a sense, one of the things that I learned from going on Running Wild is, oh my God, I'm evolved to live like this, and I can't do it. I mean, Bear, I told you at the time that straight after experiencing some of my challenges climbing, I went to near where I live in High Wycombe and went to like the climbing wall there and thought, I've got to be better at climbing. I cannot be as bad at climbing as I was on Bear's show, because that's unacceptable. So I subsequently went and learned climbing. If you have a question for Bear, or any ideas for Bear, for example, if you're watching this, you might want to tell us who you'd most like to see on Running Wild, or any other questions, press the red button and join us on Locals. That's where I'm watching the chat and where we've got questions like this one from FCDT. What wild antic have you done, Bear, that you would never do again? So I'll just give you that question now, Bear.
Oh gosh, where do we begin? You know, I think, as they say, adventure only really happens when things start to go wrong. I've been in so many situations where things have gone wrong, from parachute failures to pinned in whitewater rapids, crevasses, avalanches, rock falls, bitten by snakes, you name it. I think, you know, if I had to pick one, what was the answer? One that I would never want to do again.
Like you'd never do it again, even though you deliberately did it.
Well, I think one of the early expeditions that people don't really know about, but I took a team of 5 of us in a rigid inflatable boat, essentially an inflatable boat with a little engine, and across 3,000 miles of the Arctic Ocean, from Halifax, Nova Scotia, north, across around Greenland, and eventually dropping down to Iceland and Scotland. And we got caught in some, you know, we got caught in horrendous storms, 500 miles offshore in the night, waves the size of houses crashing on top of us, icebergs everywhere. And we were very lucky, I think, to come out of that one alive. All of us were pretty shaken 3 weeks later. And the sea is, well, the wild is a humbling place, but I think big mountains and the sea especially are incredibly humbling. You know, I always remember this guy saying to me, Mother Nature's is like your mother. You know, if you respect her, she'll treat you right. If you disrespect her, she'll teach you a lesson you're never, ever going to forget. And Mother Nature taught us a lesson that day that was, well, that month. But I'm very grateful to have got out of that one. Still, every year to this day, the guys I was with will send me a text on the day and the night of this worst storm, force 9 gale we had, you know, it lasts for about 48 hours, and they'll send me a text. They're going, this time, X number of years ago, we thought it was game over. And I don't know, I think kind of there's a bonding, isn't there, about going through scary situations together. And there's an element of that always on Running Wild. And I love that. It's been the thing that's always been the appeal for me of the wild, is the bonds you create with people in difficult and scary moments. But that was one of them.
That's a beautiful example. One of the things reflect on continually in my own journey of personal evolution is how uprooted and detached we've become from nature and from our own power. And when you speak about the bonds between people that experience that kind of adversity, it speaks to a kind of a tribal connection, a kind of mutual initiation, a sort of strength in the unity of knowing that nature is all powerful, but that we are part of nature, that we can draw upon resources in ourselves. One of the things that struck me during that experience, and I'm very glad to note that that experience was of, you know, confronting the gale and the oceans and the element was not as traumatic as wearing traditional Scottish dress, a kilt with me, and not having underpants, because believe me, I've got some memories from that experience, Bear, that we'll be talking about, but we won't be talking about on YouTube. We'll wait till we're exclusively on Rumble, where we also have a clip of my appearance on Running Wild. We'll show that. So if you're watching us on YouTube, join us over on Rumble. And if you're watching us on Rumble, press the red button right now to join us on the chat and pass on a question. There's a question here from Sherman Tank asking about your diet. I understand, you know, I'm a vegan. You mostly eat meat, I understand, Bear. And I can certainly see some of the side effects of that when I was abseiling down beneath you and looking up your kilt. Certainly seems that there are some benefits that I would like to explore. But but for now, I want to say that one of the things that struck me is like a lot of your crew were ex-service people, like the people that have been in the military, people that have been in the police force. I feel people that have been in elite service positions. I know that you're former SAS. Is that important to you to work with people that have had that kind of experience in the military and particularly in elite forces? And what kind of what is it that you find uniquely working with men and women that have that kind of service experience, Bear?
Trust and those bonds, you know, and I don't take those for granted. And I think one of the things I really missed after the military was that camaraderie. And I think what I've really worked hard over the years to create is to build that team back up, to put that A team, so to speak, back together. And we employed so many former guys that I served with and friends from the Royal Marines and all sorts of different, you know, service branches, but people who've always got a connection. It might be one or two away, but people with, you know, or the wider team of work with and trust and love. And I think that's always come before skills, you know, and same on expeditions. We've always hired on character and people we like and trust before the skills. The skills you can teach. Loyalty and humility and kindness and selflessness, those sort of qualities are harder to teach. And I think a lot of people talk a good game on them, but I think you develop a level of connection and trust when you serve with people in whether it's the police or military or whatever, that is hard to recreate. So my first port of call when we started the TV shows was to go to my best buddies and who I'd served with, and we started small and we've grown from there. But now having sort of done it for a while and it's kind of grown, and I think one of the things I'm most proud of are those friendships that have endured. You know, the terrain has changed. I mean, our crew always say it's not bad guys chasing us. It's us dodging the bad animals. You know, we're not having incoming bullets. We're dodging the snakes and the crocodiles and the typhoons. But it's the same spirit, isn't it? It's a different terrain, but the same spirit, which is you're going to work hard. You've got to have each other's back. You're going to have to dig deep. You're going to have to trust each other with your lives most days, which is certainly true in our case. But at the end of it, we get home, we get back to the family, and we'll laugh and we take the mick out of each other. And I don't know, that part is as important to me as the working hard in the moment bit. You know, I think when you start a job in the media, as you know, everyone's always very polite and nice. And I don't know, I like the banter. I really do. I really value those old friendships that can still laugh at ourselves. So it's the thing I'm most proud of on our show, the connections of friendships they've endured through so much and still going.
I was really struck by the vibe of your crew and that it was run like a military operation at points. And like, I feel like I have to candidly say that, because I talk about it all the time on Stay Free, I'm deeply, deeply cynical about establishment authority. For example, the military-industrial complex and many of the private interests behind it. But I've got absolutely nothing but respect for people that have served in the military, that are willing to put a higher purpose in front of their own safety. And the men and women that I worked with on your show are such a great example of that. In particular, obviously yourself, but also Scott, who seems to have Scotty there, who has a very particular role on your show. It seems to be like he's ensuring that there's safety. I remember when I asked what his job was, everybody laughed. So there must be some sort of ongoing joke there. But I feel like Scotty, who's got background in the military, background in the police force, he's such a laugh to be around. Fantastic stories, not all of which are appropriate for broadcast, but all of which demonstrated the kind of camaraderie and good humour that you talk about. And yeah, I felt that it's an important thing for me to make clear that, I always would get, whenever I get the opportunity to say, I really respect people that are willing to put themselves in front of danger like that, because sometimes you have to iterate that complexity so people don't think you're disrespectful towards people that are willing to, to put their lives on the line, man. I wonder what you feel about that kind of, how to balance that kind of complexity.
Well, I love hearing that. And, those guys I work with are due so much respect. They're not only be best friends, but also we've been through so much together over the years, on and off TV. And they really are the unsung heroes. When I say that, I don't pay them lip service. They really are. They work way harder than me. They're way tougher than me, way more competent in so many ways. They carry all the gear. They do everything I do, but backwards. And yeah, so for me, best friends, unsung heroes. And I love hearing sort of guests really value that as well. Because I think often guests sort of, they don't know what to expect when they arrive on Running Wild. Sometimes they go, wow, I really thought there'd be 100 crew and it'd be sort of craft catering and it will be sort of well organized. And then they turn up and it's sort of 6 of us and a coil of rope and a rough idea of where we're going, but pretty rough. And but by the end, I often find the guests love that, because it's sort of so the opposite of what they've experienced in Hollywood, which is that everything's so controlled and so measured, and every box is signed and signed off, and every harness double checked by this. And I think what I've learned over the years is that big numbers of people and a lot of box filling doesn't necessarily equal safety. Safety comes down to competence and experience and trust and a lack of ego in the big moments and a familiarity working together and a never get complacent spirit. Those sort of things hold real currency and value in my world, where I'm putting superstars' lives on the line like yourself, every week, and you got to get it right every time. So we take this safety very seriously, but it's rooted in the friendships, I think, first.
There were moments making Running Wild with Bear Grylls where I was genuinely and actually scared. And I, in my life, often sought comfort from the fact that there is a camera present. I think if there's a camera present, I cannot die. This is television. I must be safe. But there were points making this show with Bear where I was actually like, oh no, I'm having a genuine experience. I'm not in control. It must be visible on my face. As a result of that, I've not watched back this footage yet. We've got an exclusive clip to show. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're going to be exclusively broadcasting now on Rumble. So click the link in the description and join us. Join us now over on Rumble.